This is the Realist Realtor podcast hosted by Carmelita Turner, the realest realtor you know. Episodes are here each and every Wednesday at 3 p.m. because this is the show where people are interested in engaging in real conversations that talk about real life and how very real situations impact how we are able to leverage our wealth building ability through real estate. We're so glad you decided to join us. Well, hello, December. Welcome, everyone, back to the Realist Realtor podcast. I am Carmelita Turner, the realest realtor you know, as well as the CEO and founder of Call Carmelita the brand. So excited that you guys are back with us here on another wonderful Wednesday. This is our second season and our 7th episode, lucky number 7. So we are so excited about what we have on tap for the listening audience this month. I hope everybody had a great week last week. I know I took the week off just to kind of rejuvenate and spend some time with self. And I hope that all of you had a chance to safely do that with not only yourself, but your family, whether it was via Zoom or in person. It's always good to take some time to just slow down and talk and listen. We should probably do that a lot more than we do. But, 2020 has been the year of clarity, clear vision. So I think there have been a lot of things that have forced us to slow down and really take a clear look at how things actually are. So I am ready, so ready for story time today because I'm excited about the book that we're going to use as our focal book for the month. So just to recap, we have had the privilege of being able to use as springboards many books. I am an avid reader. I'm a voracious reader. And I do encourage always picking up books that expand your mind and inform your path forward in life. We have the opportunity, not just here on the podcast, but also on my YouTube channel called Carmelita. Please make sure you are subscribed to that and ring that notification bell to use wonderful books like The Black Tax by Sean Rochester. Last month, we used the book The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein as our guide. And this month, drum roll, we are going to be using the book Powernomics, the National Plan to Empower Black America by Dr. Claud Anderson. Let me tell you something. Although Dr. Anderson happens to live in the nation's capital, he is a national treasure. Any opportunity that you have to hear this man speak, sit at his feet, learn from this brilliant, brilliant mind. Definitely, I will make sure that I not only place in my link bio, which is always part of the podcast recordings here on Anchor and Spotify, but you will also find it on our YouTube channel where I include all the links so that you can find all the books and articles that we reference with every podcast episode. All right, y'all, we are diving in today because I'm so excited. I want to jump right into this. And I'm going to kind of jump around different portions of the book. I will reference them so that you will know where to find them when you go back and do your own self-study. And then I'm also going to couple our reading from the book with some research and articles. You know how I am, the realist realtor. I bring the facts. That's all I can do is bring you the facts and the data. Let me start off with a quote that Dr. Anderson used in chapter 1 of the book from Lewis Carroll, who, as you all know, wrote Alice in Wonderland. Alice, which road do I take? Cheshire Cat, where do you want to go? Alice, I don't know. Cheshire Cat, then it doesn't matter which road you take. As the Cheshire Cat said to Alice, who was lost in a Wonderland fantasy, it doesn't matter much which road you take if you don't know where you are going. It is time for Black Americans to take a good hard look at where they have come from and where they are going. The one thing that I love, folks, about Powernomics is that it's not just a wonderful book for Blacks. It's a wonderful book for the collective, for anyone who is looking for the ability to make informed decisions about how to best impact very oppressive and restrictive policies. Okay. I'm going to jump down a little bit and read another portion of that same chapter where Dr. Anderson was saying, since there have yet to be any programs and public policies specifically offered, you heard that word, right? Specifically offered to eliminate the plight of the Black masses, their future, like their past, tends to look bleak. Nearly, well, not even nearly, over a half a century after the Supreme Court ordered racial desegregation, Black Americans still bear 6 to 8 times their proportional share of poverty, broken homes, homelessness, criminal incarceration, unemployment, and other social pathologies. Social pathologies, that's important. Social integration has only addressed the symptoms of our dilemma rather than the causes. It is extremely difficult for Black people to progress when the same hands that held the whip still hold almost all of the wealth and power. Of course, that is an analogy. We do not have to take that literal, as you will see, although there is some literal veracity to that. During centuries of Black enslavement and Jim Crow semi-slavery, the majority society secured and retained its inherited advantages. Write that word down. Inherited advantages. This is what I frequently share with people, is that whites in our society, and definitely here in America, it's beyond, or it's bigger than just white privilege. It's being born into white advantage. And that advantage trumps privilege all day in the paint for very real and impactful economic reasons. Dr. Anderson goes on to say, while a Black minority inherited a legacy of disadvantage in this race-based society, whites acquired ownership. Oh, what was that, realist realtor? I'll say it again. Whites acquired ownership and control of nearly everything of value, as well as a system for keeping Blacks non-competitive and powerless. As you all know, back in 2014, I started my OYO movement, Own Your Own. And it is a movement that remains dear to my heart today, and it is indeed a pillar of my brand called Carmelita. That OYO pillar is strong with this group. And that is because we know the importance of owning your own dirt, owning your own doors, owning your own mind, owning your own thoughts, owning your own ability to forge economic strongholds. It is a movement for a reason. As we continue to connect the dots here, you will see what I am referencing. All right, I'm going to skip over really quickly to page 6 here in the book, where Dr. Anderson talks about the fact that Black America's percentage of ownership of the nation's wealth remains where it was in the 1860s on the eve of the Civil War. Say what? At that time, when nearly every Black person in America was either in full slavery or semi-slavery, Blacks owned only 1/2 of 1% of the nation's wealth. Please get that number in your head or write it down. 1/2 of 1. They own half of 1. 1/2 of 1% of the nation's wealth. Even today, over 140 years later, we are 100% free today, right? Yet Black Americans still only own, here's that number again, 1/2 of 1% of the nation's wealth. For those of you that rock with me on a regular basis, you've heard that number before because we discussed it when we heard from Sean Rochester, who has his entire book was just a plethora of research, current data, tracing all the way back. Even he went a little beyond slavery even and looked at those financial implications as well. So you mean to tell me that over all these hundreds of years, blacks have not progressed beyond owning 1/2 of 1% of the wealth? That makes me scratch my head. Not really. I'm just doing that for dramatic reasons here on the podcast. You all know the realist realtor is never stumped. I do the research and I follow the facts, so I know of what I speak. Now, let me take a pause for a second there. I want to start connecting a few dots. There was an article that was posted in the Washington Post back in 2016. Again, I will tag this on the YouTube channel for you to go back and read for yourself. It was a November 2nd article by Perry Stein. And it always cracks me up. I'm like, what the hell is all this research for? Like, why are all these researchers research? They research black people like we are a damn science experiment. Look, it's not hard. The research has been out there, but yet and still they always want to keep going and researching more because I guess they just can't believe they didn't do a better job of covering up all the things that have been done. I don't know. Make it make sense, y'all. If y'all figured it out, let me know. This article was entitled Net Worth of White Households in DC Region is 81 times that of black households. I'll say that again. Net worth of white households in the DC region is 81 times that of black households. Yep. So yeah, they pay some researchers to go and do this study and explore the historical wealth disparities between black and white residents in the DC region. Okay, well, I mean, I'm sure they probably could have, done it a lot quicker. But anyway, the Urban Institute did a report that many of you are probably familiar with called The Color of Wealth in the nation's capital. That was years ago. Actually, I might have a copy of that report laying around somewhere. I probably have far too many things that I need to purge or put in a storage somewhere. But it said that the Great Recession and the housing crisis that occurred between '07 and '09 kind of exasperated the long persistent disparities. Now, let me say this. The disparities were there even before the housing crisis, right? The disparities just became more pronounced when this housing crisis occurred. Now, let's go back to the color of law. We know that a lot of these disparities, right, exist due to black neighborhoods having their home values assessed less, but being taxed more. Come on, y'all, stay with me now. Story time. Y'all know how we do here at the Realist Realtor Podcast. And if you haven't picked up any of these books that we have referenced on our shows, please do yourself. Give that gift to yourself. I'm not a big believer in these holidays because it's all the slavery of capitalism. But I am a big believer in treating yourself to something just because it's important. It is important to read and educate your mind. But Richard Rothstein does such a beautiful job talking about how those disparities in wealth they do tie back to dirt and doors. Come on now, I'm the Realist Realtor. This is what we do here. So in this report where they talked about those disparities growing, it indicated that in 2013 and 2014, white households in the DC area had a net worth of $284,000, while black households had a net worth of $3,500. Come on. That's how I had to say it. I had to say $3,500 because that's like pocket change. That was their net worth, y'all. Hispanics had a net worth during that time of $13,000. They had a higher net worth than blacks. And why do I say that? Now, I have love for my white brothers and sisters, my brown brothers and sisters, my green, my blue, my purple. I don't care, whatever. It doesn't even matter. I have love for everybody. But I also have a love for the facts. And I love that we all work with the same facts so we can then do what is necessary to impact economic policy. So you mean to tell me that blacks who were enslaved in this country, that means they came here by force, not by choice. Okay? See, a lot of these other groups came here by what? Choice, not by force. There's a difference. So people that came here by choice didn't build the country as compared to the people who came here by force, on whose backs and blood the country was built, had a net worth more. than those who have been here from the beginning. I'm just reading you the facts. Feel free to, go back and read the article for yourself. I don't want to overlay any or inject any of my opinion. Okay. So they talked about how, the wealth differential is staggering, said William Darity Jr., a professor at Duke University. Like I said, this stuff kills me. What's staggering about it? William Darity, like, this ain't new. It hasn't been hiding, it's been in plain sight. So the other thing that he said, though, that I want you to pay close attention, the findings we have show that education does not close the racial wealth gap. Let me tell you why that's important. Because as you may have heard us talk about on Realtors Roundtable on our YouTube channel, many of the challenges facing our millennials now, when it comes to ownership, owning homes, owning more doors, is that they're ladled with such student loan debt, right? And it is because, and I am come on, y'all know I was an educator for over 2 decades. I'm a proponent of education. Maybe going to get me some more education because I just love learning stuff. However, the debt that is associated with education, let me tell you something, colleges and universities, that's the biggest hustle out here. They're like the friggin' education mafia. Their rates of tuition have risen like 5 to 6 times faster than the damn rate of inflation. Look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about, because that means you haven't been reading, and I'm glad that I'm here to share and enlighten. So you mean to tell me that the cost of going to an institution has gone up not only faster than the cost of inflation, but it has also risen faster than the average income? Shut the front door on that foolishness. They ain't nothing but hustlers themselves. And then they go after these young minds and say, hey, we're going to give you all this free federal money and all these grants. Ain't nothing free. All right. Nothing's free. There's always a cost to be paid. And now these young folks are ladled with all of this debt that will many times prevent them from getting the one thing that begins to build foundational wealth. Come on, realist realtor. What is that one thing? As I always say, it is dirt. Dirt and doors. And you know who also says that? Your president-elect, Joe Biden. I said this before. He said it on the Steve Harvey show. I'm looking right here, right now at his Biden plan. He says it here. Home ownership is the first wealth foundation builder for the family. So when you start seeing all of these disparities and these gaps in the economics, yes, we know that it is tied directly to many, many things. Well, let me tell you what some of those things are. Let's jump over here to my favorite group. Well, not my favorite group. I got a lot of favorite groups, but the Brookings Institute. So again, I often will reference the Brookings Institute. They are indeed a nonprofit public policy organization. They are housed here in DC, and their sole purpose is to research trends and data and statistics and history from things that have impacted public and economic policy. So I like to go to people like the Brookings Institute. And even though they don't necessarily, it's so funny because what did Joe Biden say? He wants to build a cabinet that looks like America. Oh, okay. Well, what does America look like, sir? I always find that to be so funny. But the Brookings Institute is diverse, not as diverse as I would like to see them. Of course, it doesn't reflect if you were to look at the percentages of our nation. Hey, we could all do better, right? But I think what I love about the Brookings Institute is that they are, they're like me. They're just analytical. They're statisticians. They look at the facts, they look at the data, and they say, hey, this is what it says. I appreciate that, right? Because you can do that with very little emotion or opinion. So the Brookings Institute, in February of this year, and there was a group of them that McIntosh, Moss, Nunn, and I forget the other little kid's name. Shambaugh. I think it was something like Shambaugh. They did a research article called Examining the Black-White Wealth Gap. So in February of this year, they indicated that a close examination of wealth in the U.S. finds evidence of staggering racial disparities. Again, this ain't new information, but I love when people, feel like they got to keep investigating this stuff versus making policy to abate it. At $171,000, the net worth of a typical white family is nearly 10 times greater than that of a black family, which was $17,150 in 2016. Now, mind you, they're looking at the country as a whole. The first article I referenced was only looking at DC. They're looking at the country as a whole. Gaps in wealth between black and white households reveals the effects of, you hear that? The effects of accumulated inequality and discrimination. Accumulated, not sudden, accumulated, right? I apologize, folks, for that. Accumulated inequality and discrimination, as well as differences in power and opportunity that can be traced back to this nation's inception. What did Carmelita just say? In the last article, where I said our brown brothers and sisters also had higher net worth than we did, we were on this dirt and built this country before they came by choice. And what did I just read from the Brookings Institute? The black-white wealth gap reflects a society that has not and does not afford equality of opportunity to all its citizens. Well, we know that when you had said just the sentence before that all of this can be traced back to this nation's inception. I will also link this article for your review. Efforts by Black Americans to build wealth can be traced back throughout American history. Let me tell you something. As I always say, y'all know I'm a lowercase g. I am the I am because the I am is in me. I just said it yesterday. I'm going to talk about it Tuesday. And I'm going to keep saying it every day because that is what I know to be true. So when you trace this back throughout American history, don't get it twisted. We had acquired wealth. We had overcome insurmountable things multiple times. But what happened? Well, let's go back to this article. But these efforts have been impeded in a host of ways, beginning with the 246 plus years of chattel slavery. Chattel, that's a real estate term. What is that? It's a piece of property. Look it up. Chattel. Chattel slavery, followed by congressional mismanagement. What, Realist Realtor? Congressional mismanagement? Hells yeah. We just talked about it last month in The Color of Law and how the FHA and the government plotted against blacks and created policy to oppress. Yeah, if you didn't hear it, go back and listen to those podcasts. Congressional mismanagement of things like the Freedmen's Savings Bank, which left 61,144 depositors with losses of nearly $3 million in 1874. Can you imagine what $3 million would be worth today if they had not lost the wealth they had accumulated? Mind you, 1874, they off of the ass of slavery. They were off of the ass of slavery and had acquired some wealth that was taken from them. Oh, but wait, it doesn't stop there. Don't forget the violent massacre that decimated Tulsa's Greenwood district in 1921. That was a population of over 10,000 people. It thrived as an epicenter of African-American business and culture, and it was referred to as Black Wall Street. Do understand 2021, June 1st, because remember, everything started on May 31st. It took them one night to destroy Black Wall Street. By the time the sun rose on June 1st, it was leveled to the ground. And that was in part due to the assistance of the planes bombing Black Wall Street from the air that belonged to the United States government. You can also look that up as well. And then, of course, there were the discriminatory practices throughout the 20th century that included Jim Crow era black codes that strictly limited opportunity in many southern states. The GI Bill, the New Deal's Fair Labor Standards Act. That's a tongue twister. Exemption, because they had an exemption. If you go back and look at that act, they had an exemption of domestic, agricultural, and service occupations. And then the last thing that the Brookings Institute cites as one of the other major factors, redlining. When did we talk about redlining? We talked about it in the black tax and with the color of law. Wealth was taken from these communities before it had the opportunity to grow. My God, today, what did I just read to you out of Powernomics. Let me go back and read it one more time. And again, this is in that first chapter of Powernomics. During centuries of black enslavement and Jim Crow semi-slavery, the majority society secured and retained its inherited advantages. People, what did I just say? They are born into advantage, not into privilege. There is a difference. They had an advantage because listen to me. When you are able to inherit the land, inherit the wealth, inherit the dirt, the doors, that positions you and every generation to come after you for wealth foundations, for a security that's not being able to benefit or be realized by a faction of the society, blacks specifically. Okay, so these things are important to connect those dots. Yes, I am a realtor for a reason, but all of these facts must work together to inform strategic paths forward in how we move, how we do things, how we educate ourselves, how we protect our credit, protect our money, how we collectively pool our money. We can gentrify our own neighborhoods. We can buy back our own buildings. And next week, we're going to talk a lot about, I'm going to continue not only with Powernomics, but with this Brookings Institute article about what happened when whites wanted to come back from the suburbs into the urban areas that they had fled from previously and stripped of all of its resources. Of course, we know what then happened to those urban areas, but because blacks didn't have the wealth foundation to buy their own communities, all they could do was sit there and decay with the damn community. But then, of course, when the whites want to come back, they buy up that community for dimes on the dollar and then, revitalize it. Oh, holla. And now, all of a sudden, the property values go up. But anyway, that's a conversation for next week. Let me just, let me read this to you, and then we're going to wrap this up with a bow. From Powernomics, I've skipped to chapter 3. One of the things, and the reason I say that about urban areas and the opportunities there and what's starting to happen, and let me say this: if you haven't read Joe Biden's plan he has it. I mean, everything that he has in his plan is on his website. But it's the Biden plan to build back better by advancing racial equity across the American economy. So let me just say this again, right? Dr. Anderson was very clear. There has never been a plan that specifically addresses blacks. Blacks who have had the most oppressive policy levied on them from the time they got to this mofo as slaves. See, when you know how when you spill something on the carpet, right? When you were little, and what was your first inclination? Let me cover that shit up. Let me go. Your mama come home from work. She's like, why is that throw rug in the middle of the floor? Oh, I don't know, Ma. I don't even know. And y'all know I'm the baby of the family. So, boy, I blame somebody else in a heartbeat. So, you know how when you know you've done something wrong and you try to cover it up, but then you try to act like, oh, but I didn't know that was wrong. I put baking soda on it and then I put the throw rug over it. So I thought it was okay. Miss me with that bullshit. I mean, hey, I'm sorry. Again, let me just deliver the facts. You interpret them however you need to. I know that I am clear about my interpretation of not only what has happened, what continues to happen, but the fact that there has never been a remedy for any of it, including the massacre of Black Wall Street. And I say massacre because it was a damn crime scene. Those people were slaughtered in their homes, in their businesses, and not one insurance company paid out any claims to blacks during that time. Not one business or family was ever financially restored. Don't talk to me about having advantages and disadvantages because this country is just laced with them. So don't tell me that, oh, we need to kumbaya. Go right ahead. You go ahead and kumbaya. Because when I spill Kool-Aid or some juice on my mother's floor, I know I did shit. I know that was me. And so I take the lumps and the bumps or whatever comes with it. So if I got to go get a little paper route or a summer job to buy my mother a new carpet, the fuck what I would do. So don't tell me, America, that you don't need to start looking at some economic repair. Miss me with that. And let me tell you something else that's important about dirt and doors, and we're going to wrap it up here. And I quote Dr. Anderson. He says, but no traditional society built on land that it did not own or control has been successful or prospered. He said, for this reason, Black Americans need a solid foundation of communities upon which to begin empowering ourselves. How the hell you gonna build something and you don't even own the land you sit on? It's impossible. He said, like Moses, we must begin to build physical communities and maintain a strong sense of community. All right, I just wanted to give y'all a little taste for story time today of Powernomics. So here are my calls to action. Number one, read. That's your homework for this week. That's the solution I'm going to offer for you this week. Please read more. Like I said, I will link all of the books that we have shared, throughout these past months, and I'll continually link our books that we share. But I do encourage you to visit Powernomics.com. And let me tell you something. Pick up Dr. Anderson's library pack. I think it's only like $99. Y'all probably wasted $99 on Black Friday, which I don't know. That really should be called White Friday because it's just putting money back into the capitalistic system of slavery. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But in that library pack, you will get your Powernomics book, but you'll also get his book, Black Labor, White Wealth. I think it's a Black History Reader. And then he's got two books, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and then Dirty Little Secrets 2, all of which are great books. So pick up his Power Pack. Again, he's definitely a national treasure. He's someone we need to learn from now. He's not getting any younger. Our matriarchs and patriarchs and all that intellectual wealth, we don't want to lose all that. So definitely do that. That's one of your solution assignments for today is to read. Make sure you're following me on my YouTube channel called Carmelita. Hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so that you'll always know when we are live or posting new content. And actually, these podcasts will be posted over there as well, just to help people that may not have Anchor or Spotify find the podcast. And then most importantly, I don't ever want to be remiss. Thank you to all of the folks who help support this podcast by sponsorship. It really matters to us. We definitely need to do, more upgrades with different things, equipment, things of that nature. So we want to thank you to all of our current sponsors. And we're looking for new sponsors all the time. So if you are interested in becoming a sponsor, please click the link bio and connect with us. Or you can sponsor us directly through Anchor. You can become a monthly sponsor of this podcast. And we thank you in advance. And we are grateful to all of those who do support getting this important information out and shared amongst the people. And then finally, starting December the 18th, I'll be participating in a 3-part series with the Empowerment Center out of DC with my brother from another mother and my success partner, Craig Gilbo Jr., who is also one of my co-hosts on Realtors Roundtable. So just stay tuned for that. We'll definitely be giving you more information about that, and we would appreciate your support in advance. Folks, I leave you in the same manner in which I come every week. That is in peace. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Realist Realtor podcast. Head over to Call Carmelita for Real Estate, all spelled out on IG, and look in our bio to click on our link so you can connect with us across all platforms. Please subscribe to the podcast here on Anchor and Spotify, and we'll see you next week.